Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news. Your hosts, Emily Springstroh of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on City Manager's Report, the top 10 episode of 2017. I'm your host, Emily Springstroh, joined as always by our City Manager, Mark Roloff. Now, on a typical episode of City Manager's Report, we would cover the most current things going on here in Oshkosh and preview the Common Council meeting agenda. However, as the year comes to an end, we like to do a year in review and wrap up the year with a top 10 episode, look back at what a great year we've had, talk about some of the biggest achievements and some of the biggest topics that we've discussed on the show. And we've got 10 awesome things to highlight for our top 10 episode today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our City Manager, Mark Roloff. So thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Great to be here, especially for this episode.
Yes, and this episode, Mark, is even more special because it is the 500th episode of City Manager's Report.
Yeah,
so exciting.
we haven't been there the whole time, but,
no,
but we're going to celebrate it.
So to celebrate that, we've added on a whole extra half hour to the show. So the first half hour that we'll have here will be the top 10 of 2017. We'll take a little break and then we'll come back with another half hour to celebrate the 500th episode, take a look back at some of the history of this program. So with that, let's get into this extra special episode of City Manager's Report and dive into the top 10 of 2017. Mark, number 10, we're going to count down, as always, from 10 to 1. The number 10 item that we are talking about here is South Park reconstruction begins. That's number 10. So this was a very highly talked about topic this year.
It's one of our flagship parks, of course, and this project involves a lot of things. A lot of erosion control for the ponds over at South Park, shoreline protection, some parking improvements, and even a fishing area with a little bit of a walkout for handicapped accessibility. So we're real happy that we're going to be able to add this. It's going to make South Park just that much more family friendly.
Mm-hmm. And something that's special about this, it's a really unique joint project with the Parks Department and the Department of Public Works because it is serving a stormwater purpose as well.
Yeah, we're going to be taking care of some stormwater quality issues as well as a little bit of quantity issues. This is technically Stringham Creek, and we've had flooding issues over here before, so this will help address some of those. It's not going to solve everything over there in Stringham Creek, but you can see over the years that there's been a lot of deterioration, and we want to make sure that we can address that and make sure that whether you're the ducks in the park or the residents who enjoy it, I have something to look forward to in the future.
Definitely. So it's currently under construction. If you drive past it, you can kind of see the big hole and all the work that's going on out there. But we look forward to the completed project in 2018 and being able to enjoy this beautiful, updated, refreshed South Park.
Great start for top 10.
Yes. So number 9, Mark, is progress on Riverwalk continues. And this is a great topic. There's been a lot happening in 2017 on the Riverwalk.
Yeah, a lot of things you didn't necessarily see because a lot of the work that we did this year was the seawall along the Morgan property. So you didn't necessarily see the Riverwalk itself get done, but that is laying the groundwork for a lot of work that we're going to get done in 2018. We got some really good bids this year on some of the construction, and because of that, we're able to look forward to next year where we're going to complete the Riverwalk from Oregon Street all the way over to the Boatworks property by the pedestrian bridge that was constructed. So the seawall is actually the most expensive part of the Riverwalk because of just how much reinforcement it needs. And this was from the ribbon cutting from the very first segment of the Riverwalk between the city center property and the hotel. And there was a lot of seawall work done here, and that seawall is just a very important part of the whole Riverwalk system. So now that the seawall's in, now we've got little things replacement in the future will be much easier.
Okay, so next year in 2018, more of the progress will probably be a little bit more visual than what it has been in 2017.
You're going to see a lot of visual work, especially in the Morgan property. So look for that, and we're always applying for grants to do subsequent phases of the Riverwalk, but this is a big part of it, and we're so happy. East of Oregon Street got done the year before, and the seawall got done this year. So we've got so many segments of the Riverwalk complete, so many people and enjoying it, and I think having the bridge done is going to just be or connecting to the bridge is going to be a great addition.
Definitely. We're always happy to talk about the Riverwalk. It's been a huge project, and as we were preparing for this episode, we joked that the Riverwalk has been a topic on the last 5 top 10 episodes. So it's definitely something that people are talking about. It's something that we're getting a lot of progress on. We're really happy about it. Moving on to number 8, Mark, Marion Road Water Tower replaced, and this is definitely a visual item.
This is absolutely a visual item. It's just about everything you see. Our Skyway right now reflects 2 water towers because the old water tower dating back to the 1930s is still up and operational. But as we're speaking, the final touches are being put on the paint job for the water tower. And as soon as the paint job's done, it will be disinfecting the inside of the water tower, and then it'll be fully operational. So all the work that you've seen on our wonderful skyline with 2 water towers will be replaced come springtime by the dismantling of the former water tower. But you can see all the construction going on when we had the skirt on it to protect it from when we were painting it, so we didn't have spray over. We're putting up the antennas for the for cell towers and things like that. So a lot of great additions, and you see over the course of the year you could see progress, virtually every single day on getting it completed.
It's been very fascinating watching the progress as we are here at City Hall, and so we can just look right out the window of your office actually and see what the latest and greatest is with the water tower, and we've learned a lot about the inner workings and how it all works. So we're excited to see that be put to use in 2018, and we're thankful for all the information that we've learned throughout the process.
You learn a lot about the water distribution system and everything, and we got a new logo, so we got the new logo up there. So a lot of fun things with this, and it's a great project, and happy it's completed now. Definitely.
Moving on, item number 7 is Connect Oshkosh engages community. And this is a really interesting one, and it's close to my heart because it's almost a social media aspect to it too, but maybe talk about Connect Oshkosh a little bit, how it's been going.
Well, Connect Oshkosh was a program that we purchased originally just to get people to be able to put a work request in for if something they saw on the street, whether it's a pothole, a broken sign, things like that, maintenance issues in the neighborhood. So we started it with that and got some really good feedback right away. People started using it. And then the council decided that they wanted to do some improvements with the how the flow of the meetings were going, and did a speaker registration system. And we found out that through the Connect Oshkosh app, you could actually register to speak even before the meeting starts. So if you want to speak to the council at next week's council meeting, as long as the agenda's up, you can use the Connect Oshkosh app and be all signed up, and your name will get called at the next council meeting, and hopefully you're there and you'll be able to speak to whatever topic you want to talk about.
Definitely. It's a really cool app. It's definitely the app to have if you're a resident or even a visitor here in Oshkosh, because not only can you report those issues, sign up to speak at a council meeting, but there's also links to our social media, there's links to our city website, there's a lot of really interesting things, and we're only going to keep adding all of the different tools that you can use on that app too. So definitely encourage people to download.
Real happy to have it, and of course, we did a lot of council chamber renovations there. This was one part of it, and so if you come to the meetings, you're registering to speak and doing it on the touch screen, hopefully. So hopefully those improvements have helped make the flow of the council meeting go as well. So we started with way to fix potholes, and we got all the way to working on council meetings.
Yes, we love to talk about the technological updates that we've had too in 2017. It's been wonderful. So moving on to number 6 of our top 10 items of 2017 here, Mark, is major street projects completed. This is another one that I think really deserves to be on the top 10 of 2017. We've gotten a lot of work done on streets.
You can't have a top 10 show without having some streets to talk about. This year we had some higher profile projects. New York Avenue was done, and that was done over near Merrill School, and you can see the progress we made between 2009 and 2017. Everything on New York Avenue from Hazel, basically from Lake Winnebago all the way over to the Fox River will now have been done. Plus, we had some other projects get done. Murdoch on the north side. That one took too long, in my opinion, and an opinion of a lot of people who called me about that all the time. And then we got into the residential areas, Bayshore and Eveline. Eveline wasn't originally intended to be done, but was added on. We got some great cost savings, great bids this year, so we took advantage of those, and Eveline was starting to fade a little bit. So, we got all those streets done, and we're so happy for it. Right here in front of Merrill School, it really makes it for a much easier and safer drop-off for parents to drop off their kids, or the buses to drop off the students, because we've got a better area there. You can just see it's just and it just gives great curb appeal to any neighborhood when we do this type of thing. So we're very excited that we were able to get these projects done.
Yes, and I think you've used the term before, patience pays off, and that graphic with New York is a total testament to that. Look at our beautiful New York Ave, but it takes a while to get projects like that done, especially a project that big.
We're making great progress with our streets. I wish we could do better. I wish we could do more of them, but I'm really pleased with the progress we're making, and I think people understand that, as you said, patience is definitely a virtue when it comes to waiting for street projects, and we'll be doing more in 2018 as well, so just look for those.
Yes, looking forward to it. Moving on, item number 5, we're about halfway through our top 10 episode. OPD creates Vice and Narcotics Unit. Now this is a little bit more behind the scenes, and we had a chance to talk to Chief Dean Smith, and we're going to kind of let him talk about this. So let's take a look.
We recognized we had a drug issue, we recognized we had a human trafficking issue, and we wanted to make sure that we're serving the citizens well. So we started our Vice and Narcotics Unit, and they've been incredibly successful over the last year. They started January of last year, and they've conducted 109 prostitution investigations already this year. They were able to recover 4 folks who were part of human trafficking, which is a win in anybody's book. They've covered 159 drug investigations, and in those investigations we're able to target our drug traffickers. During these investigations we recovered over 57 pounds of marijuana, a pound of crack cocaine, and also 1.5 pounds of methamphetamine throughout the investigations. That's a lot of drugs that we've been able to take off the street. We saw a large amount of drug overdoses in the community, and unfortunately we were losing a lot of folks to drug overdoses where they're dying. And that's really a driving theme for what we're trying to do here with our drug dealers. Heroin is an epidemic across the country, and we have to do our part to stop this epidemic here in the city of Oshkosh. Our goal really is to make it uncomfortable for drug dealers to come into the city, and we're being successful with that. Folks wanting to come into Oshkosh to either participate in prostitution or to participate in dealing drugs. We're hearing from some of our folks that they don't want to come to Oshkosh, so they go outside. So I think we're having an impact here locally.
We're sending the message, that's for sure. And here are just some of the numbers, and you can see them. A lot of drug-related investigations, new confidential informants. So, we are making sure that we're making life uncomfortable for drug dealers, sending the message we don't want them here. And if they do choose to, we're going to take care of business. And this Vice and Narcotics Unit has been very much welcomed, and it's had its impact, and we're very happy. And similarly, on the Vice side, we've done a lot of prostitution investigations, and we're sending the message we're not just going after the prostitutes, we're going after the Johns as well. You can see the numbers that are there, and look at that, 4 human trafficking cases. That's the equivalent of what we see nowadays as modern slavery. Mm-hmm. That's something that we are not going to tolerate here in Oshkosh, and our police department with our Vice and Narcotics Unit is really making a stand and letting people know that we are going to take care of this problem in the city of Oshkosh.
Yes, and so thank you to Dean for stopping in our studio and telling us a little bit of background about that. It's a really great thing, and I'm very happy that it was on our top 10 list this year, because it, like you said, Mark, it's really making a difference in our city. Moving on to number 4, we've got People of the Waters showcases Oshkosh history. Now, we've talked about this a lot in the last year, and it's been so exciting to see the new exhibit take shape and open.
It's an incredible source of pride, not only for the museum, because it's a great addition to the museum, but it's a great addition in terms of what it means to our city's history and our community's history. The display, if you haven't seen it, I've been out there multiple times since it's opened. It's just so cool. There's so much technology and interactive ability. Kids love it, adults love it, and it tells a wonderful history of our community. It helps tell the history of our community dating back to the prehistoric age. And we've got such great input from the Menominee tribe to give us input in terms of making it tell the story of the Menominees and as it says, the people of the waters, the people that were here before settlers came in. So we're very pleased in all the work that Brad Larson and all his people at the museum did, and as well as the leadership of the museum board to get this going.
Yes, it is amazing. And like you said, it's great for all ages, all of the activities. The technology is really neat, and it's very interactive. There's parts of it that you interact with within the exhibit, but then you can go home and also continue the games that you're playing within there too. So it's really a neat thing, a lot of really cool components to it.
There were some features that were a naturally made canoe using technology from way back when, and getting people to really see what a canoe looked like. And this is not the one I'm talking about, it's a different one. And then just telling the history, what it was like to be a trader, some of the challenges that the traders had, some of the frustrations they had. And then of course the story of the Menominees and the other Native American tribes throughout the history of Wisconsin, telling that story and how they survived from one age to the next. Pretty rough terrain that they had to deal with, pretty rough weather, and managed to survive through all these years. So it's a great tribute to our Native American tribes, and real happy that it's something we're going to be proud of for years. And I encourage people, stop by the museum and take a look at the People of the Waters exhibit. You're going to love it.
Yes, it's amazing, and it's one of those things I think too that you don't just have to go once. You got to go back because you're going to see all these things that you missed the first time. And they're making a lot of updates to the museum. You'll see updates on the outside of the building as well as the inside. A lot of really awesome exhibits coming in 2018. So we encourage people to check out the Oshkosh Public Museum website too and get a little preview of what's to come. Moving on to number 3, we are now in our top 3 of the top 10 of 2017, Mark. The rental inspection program is now underway. This was a hot topic. A lot of people were talking about this year.
A lot of controversy, but it is something that ultimately the council felt was necessary for us to address the rental housing in our community, making sure that it's safe and healthy for residents, whether that's students or whether it's any other resident. These are issues that we want to address that are dealing with pure health and safety issues, and these are just some of the examples: falling ceiling panels, bad plumbing, bad windows that create drafts and can't maintain heat, all those types of things. And I think some of our early results, even though we haven't gotten a great deal of cooperation so far, I think has proven itself. We've done 35 internal inspections, and in every single inspection, 100% of the time, we found, on average, 6+ violations in every location. These are health and safety issues. So I think that proves itself. Even the external inspections that we've done, probably about 80% of the time we find a problem, and I think that proves that this is a legitimate issue. And even now, state legislators are looking at removing our ability to do that. So I encourage residents to contact their legislators and let them know that this is something that's very important to the city of Oshkosh, and it just shows that these are things that we want to make sure that we all have safe and healthy housing, and it helps protect all property values. So we certainly want people to take a look at that as well.
Yes, and of course we want to encourage renters to schedule inspections. Like you said, they do an external and an internal inspection. The video you're seeing now is an example of what an inspection would look like. It's very quick and painless, and like you said, Mark, it's a health and safety issue, and at the very least, we want to give our residents a safe place to live.
And if you want to, when you get a notice about inspections coming up, please call our inspections division and schedule an inspection. It's very easy. We have a checklist so you know exactly what we're going to be looking through. So it's not going to be invasive, as some people had said, falsely claimed that. It's a very basic list of things that we're going to be looking for, and they're all electrical, plumbing, things like that.
So we plan on continuing this in 2017, encourage people to schedule inspections, and we're happy with the results that we've had so far. Moving on to number 2, Mark, and this is a big one. Oshkosh Corporation has selected Lakeshore for their global headquarters. This is a big one.
This was one that took a good part of the year in terms of preparing for it, trying to get people to understand, and a lot of waiting, a ton of waiting until Oshkosh Corporation made their decision. They celebrated their 100th anniversary, and then after we had some discussions with them, made some proposals, got some concepts. We got a rendering that shows what it could look like, and so these are some scenes from their 100th anniversary. This is a global company that Oshkosh Corporation is. A lot of the things you see in this parade aren't even made here in Oshkosh, but the corporate headquarters is here, and that is so important because that's where the decisions for the company are made. And the manufacturing that does take place here stands a better chance of remaining in this community with the corporate headquarters being here. So the Oshkosh Corporation impact, we showed that the loss of Oshkosh Corporation's corporate headquarters was potentially going to have a $70 million annual impact to our community. So we knew it was something we wanted to do. Lakeshore Golf Course, a lot of controversy over deciding that we weren't going to have an 18-hole golf course anymore. But I think what's going to be replaced there is going to be something that's going to be people are going to be proud of. It's going to look very visually exciting. And then we also have the balance of the golf course that can be used for some other park, green space, golf purposes. And that's really what we're going to be deciding over the next year.
Yes, and so throughout the whole process with Oshkosh Corp Lakeshore, we're so thankful for the public input, and this was huge. There was a lot of opinions, and that's great. We were really happy to have people from the community come in, voice their opinions, and of course we want to get a plug in there to encourage people to be a part of that moving forward with the balance of the land at Lakeshore.
Oh, exactly. We had a number of public input sessions, whether it was open houses or public hearings, and letting both the Plan Commission, the Parks Advisory Board, as well as the council. People came to virtually every council meeting since it was out that we were making a proposal to Oshkosh Corporation, and I think public had their say. And not everybody agreed, but I believe it was something that was necessary, as awkward and painful as it may have been. But ultimately, we're going to be able to save a Fortune 500 company, and we're really going to help improve the lakeshore and create some new recreational opportunities for the public to enjoy for years to come. So in 2018, we're going to be looking for that input. After the first of the year, look for those meetings where we're going to be seeking input. We're hoping to find some creative ways to get public input on this type of thing. So we're hoping that we'll continue the whole public input process to see what goes next. And then sometime in 2018, you're going to see groundbreaking for Oshkosh Corporation, and with the goal of having them complete sometime in late 2019.
Excellent. So it's really exciting, like you said, moving forward to get that input. It's important to get that, but we're really excited to move on from this and look forward to the new headquarters being there, and also seeing what's going to be happening with the rest of that public land. So we're excited. It's a really exciting time here in Oshkosh. And that leads me to our number one of the top 10. Are you ready for it, Mark?
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
Number one of the top 10 of 2017 on City Manager's Report is Menominee Nation Arena revitalizes the South Side. Are you surprised by this number one, Mark?
Not at all, given the fact that I think I said, look for this next year, because last year was getting rid of the Buckstaff property, and who would have thought a year ago that part of the Buckstaff property was still up. We were still waiting for the bank to get it knocked down, and then for us to get the concrete pad removed so that we could do the groundbreaking in March, which we did. So in March, this was what it looked like. And then over the course of the spring, summer, and fall, you saw this magical restoration of a former site, and just exciting to see everything going on there.
Yes, I think you used the right word, magical, because it is unbelievable that this all happened in a year. So, we're looking at the time lapse right now, which is awesome. The arena is complete, and there are games happening in there with the Wisconsin Herd. There are events that are planned there, entertainment coming. It's amazing. So tell us about how it's been going so far.
Well, it seems like it's been going very well. The city's involvement, we formed a tax increment financing district, and what that was intended to do, which we've done, is to cover the extraordinary costs of developing due to the soils on that site. And as people could imagine, with a company that had been there since the 1850s, there were a lot of issues out there, and we had to take care of those. And we've capped a lot of those issues and had to haul a lot of them away because of the poor soils. We also got assistance from the arena folks to pay for some of the infrastructure costs out there, and then we'll reimburse them for those costs again through the tax increment financing district. So a lot of public improvements got done out there, all on the dime of the development and the additional tax increment that they created. So a lot of neat improvements out there. I think that's going to help the entire South Side, and that's really what we're going to be seeing over the next few years, because you've already seen, and local media has covered this, you've got the Fifth Ward Brewery that's there, and the Granary, another great project that got going. And you just see a lot of excitement, a lot of interest in what's going on in the Sawdust District on the south side of Main Street. And it's also had a jolt for businesses, whether it's South Main Street, Oregon Street, Jackson, North Main. There's a lot of activity going on game nights. And then as we add more activities, we're going to have some concerts and comedians that the arena's hosting over the course of next year. And you're going to see on those nights that activity is going to pick up in the downtown. It's very exciting, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Yes. On City Manager's Report, we talk a lot about economic development. And this is such an exciting thing. And this kind of drives home all of the points that you make a lot of the time about economic development. This is something that has been sitting for a long time in Oshkosh. A lot of people have been talking about this side of town.
For the first 7-8 years, one of the most frequent questions I got was, what are you going to do something about the Buckstaff property? And eventually we were able to do some enforcement. And then, magically, again, I use that term, Greg Pierce and his group with Windward Wealth Strategies came up and said, we want to propose Fox Valley Pro Basketball. We want to bring a Wisconsin D-League back then team to Oshkosh. And seeing what he wanted to put out and how we were able to put it all together, I think a source of community pride. I think a lot of people feel good about it. Seeing the people at the arena on game nights is exciting because people genuinely love going to the games. They're just getting to know the players, but quite honestly, the players turn over a lot with the G League and everything. There's a few that are there a lot, but some move up to the Bucks, some move out of the Bucks, and you get new faces all the time. So people are there for the excitement of being part of something that our community can be proud of. And I've seen people from other areas of the state. You can see basketball teams from other communities that are coming to the game. So it's all these things that are bringing people to downtown Oshkosh, and that's really what it's about, because that's the type of economic activity that helps pay for the services that we provide the public.
Yes, some of our favorite things: economic development, collaboration, another great example of the wonderful collaboration and partnerships that we have here in the city. And like you said too, it's bringing people not only to the south side of Oshkosh, but it's bringing people to Oshkosh from outside of Oshkosh, which is especially exciting.
Oh yeah, great top 10 here.
Yes, wonderful top 10. We are just about finished with the top 10 now. So as always, we'd like to thank you for joining us for the 2017 top 10 episode of City Manager's Report. We're going to take a quick little break here, and we're going to move forward, push on into another half hour of City Manager's Report to celebrate the 500th episode of CMR. So we'll be right back right after this.
Explore the riches of prehistoric and early life that spans 13,000 years in the new People of the Waters exhibition at the Oshkosh Public Museum. Discover how the Ice Age transformed the landscape. Experience living in a full-size recreated longhouse. Uncover the past and learn the secrets of the fur trade. People of the Waters, a new interactive exhibition at the Oshkosh Public Museum. Discover more at oshkoshmuseum.org.
Hello again. We are back on City Manager's Report. Thank you so much for joining us, not only for the top 10 episode, if you were with us the last half hour, but for the 500th episode of City Manager's Report. And what you just saw there was CMR through the years. So very fun thing to see. Once again, I'd like to introduce our City Manager, Mark Roloff. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, happy to be here yet again.
Yes. So we're pushing forward after we just completed the top 10, 500 episodes. And what did you think of that little montage?
It was interesting. John Urban's hair has been lost over the years. I don't have to tease him about that, but it really shows how we've evolved with Oshkosh Media, how we view communications with the public, and just the fact that we can have a show like this. This is the first community that I've worked in that's had anything like this. Even larger communities that I've worked for. This is, for me, an opportunity to reach out to a lot of people, as many as want to, as they're flipping through the channels, as many as want to listen to us. And over the years, I've certainly seen people, as I go to the grocery store or at a kid's ball game or something, somebody recognizes me from seeing me on CMR and gives me their thoughts. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. But always genuinely caring about the community and giving her their thoughts. And so I think City Manager's Report has been a way to reach out to get people to provide us public opinion. So it's been a great citizen engagement tool, and I think we've learned a lot over the years.
Definitely, and as we saw, it's always been evolving. There's been a lot of changes, and it's been overall just a wonderful experience to be a part of, also as a co-host of the show. And it's just so exciting that we get to celebrate the 500th episode. Like you said earlier in the show, Mark, you and I weren't here for all 500 episodes, but we had a chance to get a little bit of history as we look back on those 500 episodes.
Yeah, it's been great. We were able to talk to some folks who were part of the history of the show when it was called Inside City Hall, and how it's moved from there. So I'm just happy to be part of that, and just looking back and celebrating 500 episodes. There are a lot of TV shows that last only 5 or 6 episodes. This is government access TV, but I think it just shows our commitment to keeping the public informed.
Definitely. So earlier this week, we had a chance to bring in some of the people that made City Manager's Report possible and created this program. They came in and we had a little bit of a panel interview here in the studio with Mark and I. Got a little bit of a look back, some history of how it began and what spurred and what inspired this amazing program to come to Oshkosh. So I'd like to introduce this next segment here. We had our former Executive Director, John Urban of Oshkosh Media, who is currently the General Services Manager here at City Hall. And then we also had our former Operations Coordinator, Andy Radig, who has since moved on to a new opportunity at the university. So they were able to come into the studio and give us a little bit more background on how CMR came to be and some of the great memories that they had. Take a look. We're really excited to have Andy Radig and John Urban here in the studio today to tell us some of your memories and what things were like back in the day when CMR first began. So thank you both so very much for joining Mark and I in the studio today.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we get into the origins of the show? When did you first see a need for the program to take shape and to have it here at City Hall?
Well, really, I think it was something that developed out of interest in getting more insight into the workings of city government. At the time, we had done a program called Your City at Work, which is still around, YCAW, we call it sometimes. And that was an insight into city departments, a little bit more of a magazine program. But at the time, there really wasn't a program that looked at the current events that were happening within city government, and specifically council agendas and what the topics were, what was going on. So it really filled a need. I don't know, John, if there was anything else there.
Well, I think another element to this that was in the background of everything was the fact that, up until recently, the Oshkosh Northwestern was a major player in the community in terms of setting agenda, who to vote for, what projects to support, where this community should go, and so forth. And the way we recall the origin of the program was, as Andy said, we started having departments and the city manager on various shows like Oshkosh Today and Your City at Work. And it was our understanding that the council, after a few years of that, and because of the what they felt perhaps some of the miscommunication or the agenda setting from the Northwestern, they felt it was important that the city have its own voice to clarify the city's position on projects and so forth. So the way we recall the origin beginning was that the city manager was basically very much encouraged to do a program where that could be done. And so that's where, as I think you said, it began as inside City Hall. It wasn't always the city manager's report. It evolved to that after a few years. But that's where I think it kind of really took off, because it at the time there was nothing like it,
Right.
in terms of having a program where the city manager came out and talked about issues. So at the time, what was out there for the program was appropriate, and I think matched the city manager's personality at the time, which was relatively conservative. That's the way they did it. They'd never done a TV show before to that extent where they talked about city issues. So that's kind of how the program began.
But it really focused, at that time, it was more of a basic preview of here are all the things that are going to be on the council agenda. And over time, that kind of changed, because now, before our council meetings, we actually scroll the consent agenda so that people see the first 20 or 25 items that are even going to be discussed that night. So we fill that need a different way now.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it did evolve quite a bit. I mean, if you've seen some of the earlier shows, and Mark, you might have seen some of them, I mean, they were pretty dry, let's be honest. It was basically reading the agenda from beginning to end, and that was the comfort level of the administration at the time, which was, this is what's on the agenda, this is what we're talking about, it's just the facts.
And I think that was the goal of the transparency too. Like you had said, it was important to the administrators at that time that they're giving people an inside look at City Hall, hence the title of the show. So to start out with that, going straight through the agenda, of course, that would how it would begin, right?
Right. And we talked yesterday as we were kind of going down memory lane on some of the stuff, and a lot of credit goes to not only the council for their support over the years of this program and what it does, and of course Mark Lately, we'll get into that in a little bit, but also Assistant City Manager John Fitzpatrick. He's always been a huge supporter of this, and I think a lot of what you see now with City Manager's report is very much reflective of how the organization has evolved in terms of being transparent and more inclusive, and making sure the public understands what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I think the program is a direct sort of, it mirrors where we are as an organization for the city of Oshkosh, and that has changed quite a bit too.
Well, over time, we've developed our strategic plan that talks about transparency and making sure the public is aware of certain things. And of course, we have to be accountable for those things. And some of that is trying to explain a little bit behind the scenes. So we got a little deeper inside City Hall, and as it evolved to City Manager's report, I recall one of the first times we sat down to do the show, and I said, I don't want to just read the agenda.
Right.
And we kind of talk. I think I referred to it. Well, it's kind of a pregame show. So just don't talk about the plays you're going to run at a pregame show. You talk about the issues and the personalities and things that are going on. And I think that's what we ended up evolving it to, John, as we started doing the show together.
And I think a lot of it, and Andy, you can chime in on this, but the technical side has certainly evolved as well.
Right.
I mean, it started as a very quick. We only had so much time to do it.
Sure.
The city manager was only here for like 40 minutes, came in to do it. That's certainly changed.
That changed quite a bit, exactly. And I think as the city evolved, the program evolved to match with that. Like just the name of the program, Inside City Hall became the city manager's report, probably a little bit more descriptive of the nature of the program. But technically, certainly it changed. Just as the beginning of the program, the program in the beginning was more of an overview of the council agenda, technically there wasn't quite as much going on with that format of a program. But as more elements were introduced into the program, technically it became and is a very sophisticated program. A lot of video elements, a lot of different types of graphics, and I know that there's a lot of planning that goes into that before the program starts. So it can be challenging, and I remember Scott running around like crazy. Sometimes some of the elements aren't even ready as the program is starting. So we're really
You're being really nice to me, because it's usually some idea that I come up with, and you guys a little rolling of the eyes, and then Scott goes into the background and says, "I got video on that, Mark," and it's nice. And I know another who succeeded John and before Emily, Dean Leisgang, came from the news, came from the news world,
Right.
and so we kind of made it into a little bit of a news show, and that was the next evolution of this, and I think that's where the folks in the background were really able to take a lot of great video that we had all over the place and just introduced it to the public for the first time in some cases.
Right. And it was always fun when we had those challenges. What can we do? If there was a piece of video that we could still just grab and still include in the show, we'd go and get it. So that was always a neat challenge that we could always try to do.
And I know just as some of the predecessors successors over the years brought their different skills, that also has been the same with Emily now, her stepping in, more social media and how we can now capitalize on the social media side of putting this CMR, the City Manager's Report, out in that way. And I know that's been a huge boost.
Definitely, yeah. And the whole, like you said, the whole goal of the show is to connect with our citizens and our residents, and that is the social media thing has been a huge tool involving them. And even the question mark segment, the famous question mark segment, rather than just doing the email, we get a lot of great people connecting with us on social media and asking us to talk about certain issues. So that's been a whole new page that we've turned that's been really exciting.
And similar to that, the question mark segment, a little bit of interaction with the audience there.
Yeah, and I think the social media aspect of that has actually improved that segment, because there were some times we'd be looking for an email. Now we get a lot of comments on social media that bring those questions up, and I think that has really helped us connect more with the public, and I think to a different population as well. It's not just some folks clicking through the channels, oh, there's something there. Folks who look for on social media have seen something that Emily's put out on social media, and they want to dig a little deeper, and they click and get a little more information. And to me, that's what this is all about.
And I know, Mark, you spend a lot of time with the program now, which wasn't always the case. Prior City Manager Wolenk, it was a very, very much a black and white, here's the agenda, here we go through. I know you spend a lot of time prepping, for that, but that also benefits you then come council meeting time.
Absolutely, because there are things that we can prepare for in terms of what to expect at the council meeting. What are some of the issues? And I rely on Emily to use social media. What are we hearing in the public realm so we can address those issues? What are the common questions or misconceptions that might be out there? And I think that's helped us a lot. Plus, I think we rely on each other's different media to feed off of one another. I do a weekly newsletter. It's certainly referenced on social media, but that's the front end of the show is now just news and updates. And we use a lot of articles from the newsletter and to expand upon them, give a little more flavor to it, and just adding depth to it. The video that Scott and Andy and Jake have done over the years really adds a better degree of understanding for the public to get where this issue is coming from. Plus, you get to see progress on river walks and arenas and all those other wonderful things that we love to talk about, and that visual element just makes it so much better.
Yes. Have you seen, John, over the years, as we have transformed the show into a newscast and a council preview, the city's support for not only media services, but for the city manager has kind of increased over time due to that?
Well, I think it's obvious that by being involved with the operation and using it to communicate the city's position and strategies and projects and updates, I think that's only benefited us because they have a better understanding of how this channel can be used, how the equipment is valuable, how the equipment works, so that when we come forward with certain requests to replace things that are outdated or broken or whatever, they understand it and they can see the value to that. And I think that goes for the council as well. And the council and the city manager, the administration, they've been very supportive over the years. And I have to believe it's because they are actively involved with the channel as well. They see the value of it. They see how it's getting out to the community and being transparent and sharing the message of what we do. So I think it's a win-win all the way around.
It's always been a great communications platform.
Yes. Let's talk about Pride. A lot of awards have been won with CMR over the years through WCM and other organizations, and you guys were there for the majority of that. So tell us about what that's been like, seeing how it's changed over the years and all of the recognition that you've received.
Well, I think initially the awards were probably more garnished on the behalf of there weren't a lot of access channels that did something like this, to
That's
actually
true.
bring their administration in, to use their channels to show that value out to the community and to the administration. I think that's where a lot of it began. I have to be honest, I think in the last several years, the quality of the program, no offense to what we were doing, but I think the quality of the programming has certainly improved dramatically as it's evolved. Of course, a lot of it's the talent. I think that goes
We
without
know
saying.
that.
But I think the fact that it's entertaining, it's fast-paced, it matches what people like to see and expect to see in this day and age. And I think that's, I think the awards now are probably more genuine, if that's the word, for what's being done now. So it's a tremendous program for what it serves to the community.
I think we've enjoyed doing the Top 10 show because it really gets us to be able to take a look back at a year and look at all the accomplishments that we've had. And as we were preparing for this year's show, just taking a look at top 10s from previous years and seeing the evolution of our community and the things we've gotten to achieve. And it gives us a source of pride for our community as well. And it also serves as a good launching pad for us when we do the annual State of the City address as well.
Definitely.
And Oshkosh Media has helped so much because it's really telling the story about our past and really setting ourselves up for a bright future with each and every year that we look forward.
Yes.
One thing I always say about not only what we do, but on City Manager's Report is we really are their cheerleader for what we're doing in the city. If sometimes you have to pat yourself on the back because no one else may not do that. So I really think this is a vehicle where we can say to the public, let's look at all the great things that are going on. Look what all is happening in this community and be part of it. Get involved. See what we're doing. And I think CMR and what it's done over the years is certainly a really good benchmark for how far this community has gone and will continue to go.
I think now, myself being a resident and a viewer of the program, I enjoy the insights and gaining a little bit of information that otherwise I wouldn't have access to. So to me, that's valuable. And I know, especially in the past, there were situations, there were some emergency situations and different things that happened, and City Manager's Report was always a great venue to get that information out to the residents. It was certainly a platform that allowed for that information to be conveyed. So.
And talking about the different viewers too, not only for residents, but it's city employees, even members of the media see this show as a tool to kind of get informed. So it's really interesting to hear all the different stories of how this has been beneficial to people.
Sure. There were reporters that would sit in the lobby as the program was being taped so that they could take notes of what was being said.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's been a really great ride. We're so excited that you guys were able to come here. Final thoughts for 500 episodes on City Manager's Report, guys?
If it continues to evolve the way it has, it's got a great future. It serves a valuable need to educate the community as to what's going on in municipal government. It's fast-paced. It's now being shared on social media platforms. I mean, I think you're doing everything you can do to be successful with this program, and wish you guys all the best moving forward.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And same thing here. I always enjoyed working on the program. It was great, and social media now being infused into it. Exactly. Keep going with it as it is, and keep going with new ideas too.
Definitely. Well, thank you both so much for stopping in the studio with us today. It's been really great to hear all of the stories, and we've already got you penciled in for the next 500th, the 1000th episode. So thank you so much for joining us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we'd like to thank John and Andy for coming into the studio and giving us a little bit of a look back and some history on City Manager's Report. And it was a really cool conversation.
What a great trip down memory
Yes.
lane. Those two have such history and perspective on what the show was, its very modest beginnings, and how they helped it grow over the years, and how it eventually helped us grow the show. And so it was really fun to listen to them. And we just listened to a lot of their stories and just what they thought of it being, just starting out as something to just let people know what was on the next agenda. And it evolved from that. And I remember I was telling John, I remember my first show, and I said, are we just going to talk about the agendas? Is there other stuff to talk about? So we've really helped it grow over the years, and it's been so much fun to be part of that.
Yes, and I love the point too that was made about transparency. Our citizens and our residents crave transparency in our government, and in addition to that, it's great to have, they crave that news as well, the current events and the current things that are going on, current projects that we're working on that might not be on that week's agenda. So let's dive a little deeper, Mark, into your experience. Now, you mentioned that you came from a community that didn't have anything like this, so it must have been an interesting thing to kind of get comfortable with and move into.
Well, it's sort of one of those things, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And I saw it as like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then it was like, well, what different can we do? How do I put my mark on the show? But how do we make it better, and what things are people looking for? And as we went on, we added different features. We made it when Dean Leising came on the show. He came from the news area, and he added some features, and we kind of made it a little bit of a news program, but also being able to use different medias that we had, whether it was starting out with my newsletter that I do weekly for council, incorporating some of those things. It's like, well, maybe the public would want to know some about those things. So we'd start telling stories from my newsletter, and then other people would make suggestions. And then I think as we started with social media, people would make observations. And we started with question mark, and then social media really help that become a lot more popular.
Definitely. Getting going back to the public input, as always, is so important, but reaching out to our viewers and asking them, what do you want to see on the show? And that's, I think, where the question mark segment was born. Originally, they would email them to us or give us a call and let us know what their question was. But yes, social media has really pumped that up and amped it up a lot.
And it's so important to give the public an opportunity to talk about these things. I mean, this is technically government access TV, and what does that mean? It's giving you access to what your local government does. It's such a great medium that we have here that we're able to tell our story, and we've got great resources here, and we're so happy to be part of that. And when you think about the effect that it has on city government, hopefully it gives people to have a little more trust in city government. That's certainly one of my goals. And even when people haven't necessarily agreed with something that I've suggested or proposed, at least this gives people here's my half of the story. And then certainly we can listen to what input we get through social media, through public comments at meetings. That's a very appropriate thing to do, and I'm happy to be part of that. And everything we've done over the years, all the format changes, have really been designed for that. The meeting discussion is really only part of it. We kind of joke and call it a pregame show because we do show the CMR just before the council meetings. So you do get a little highlight of what things are going on. But sometimes somebody shows up and something else happens and brings up a new issue, and we're talking about that the next week.
Yes, and I think we do have to mention when you said that, it does literally get recorded the Thursday before the council meeting, sometimes like an hour before we close for the day. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Sometimes I wish we would do a time lapse with a camera of what it's like down here.
Yes.
A lot of running around, a lot of back and forth, and talk about what it's like coming down here and having such a minimal amount of time to be able to prepare for this, because the council agenda is still changing at that point.
Well, it's a lot of excitement. A lot of we're frazzled trying to get things done, but at the same time, it's very important that we tell the story of what's happening at the council meeting. So, I'm happy to do it. We invest a little more time, but we only have a half hour to tell the story, and we probably spend hour and a half. Sometimes only 30 minutes when we're really tight on time. But then you're getting something fresh and new and up to date.
Yes, and so we have to thank our video editing people in the background too, Jake and Scott, because they are really the backbone of this show, giving us all that awesome video that they're blending in with the program every week.
Well, it dives in with everything, with Oshkosh Media's 30th anniversary, all the media folks behind the scenes, Jake and Scott and Andy before him, just making Oshkosh Media very relevant for our community, and we're so appreciative of that.
Yes, and so it was really fun to celebrate 30 years here at Oshkosh Media back in September. We had a big party. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great community support, which of course we have to thank everyone for too, especially our viewers for supporting us over the years. Thank you for that. And we're looking forward to another 30 years here at Oshkosh Media, another 500 episodes of City Manager's Report, which I guess leads me into the future of CMR, where we want to go, what we're looking at in 2018 and beyond.
You know, it's whatever we want it to be. Certainly, new trends are social media and how we do that. And I see that, and that's where I think, you've added so much, adding social media to having people provide that very necessary input. So I see social media as being a big thing.
Kind of exploring new opportunities.
Yeah, but always being open to look for something different, and sometimes it just comes upon you. We didn't create social media, but when we saw it, we said, well, how can we
here's another tool.
Here's another tool that we can use. And telling the story, but still preparing people for the council meeting, I think that's something that we're always going to be doing, because that's fundamentally what our elected officials do. The decisions they make are so important. So we're always going to be doing that and telling that story. But I guess it also depends on what the public wants. I mean, because question mark really came out of people saying, well, what about this and what about that? And so we added the question mark segment just to get people asking us things. So we'd like to know what people would like to see in the future.
Yes, let us know what you'd like to see on City Manager's Report, what changes you'd like to be seeing here. I can say in 2018, we might be looking a little different. You and I might look the same, but our set might be looking a little different in 2018 as we make updates. As always, we're always updating equipment behind the scenes, which is always a seamless change too. So really excited for the future of City Manager's Report.
Well, our folks, our staff here at Oshkosh Media, all the stuff behind the scenes to make it happen. There's the magical control room.
That's what we're working with.
Yeah, these guys are frenetically working to get everything ready before the meeting, pressing buttons, getting the videos ready. That just doesn't happen. This is not just a talking head show. If you think about it, the graphics and the video that we have is all a lot of work that these folks put in. And so I want to thank Jake and Scott and all their interns that come in over the course of the year from UW Oshkosh. We're very pleased to have them.
Yes. And so we're winding down on the 500th/top 10 episode. So Mark, I guess any final thoughts on the 500th episode? What an exciting time.
I'm just happy to be part of this, being able to reach out to the community, and I'm looking for many years of using Oshkosh Media as a tool to keep the public informed. So thanks for all your listening over the years, and we'll keep coming to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mark, for everything over the last however many episodes, but we look forward to another 500 with you.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you all so much for joining us, not only for the top 10 episode, but also for the 500th episode of City Manager's Report. Make sure you check out Oshkosh Media, our website for the GovTV schedule, as well as more information on our other programs. You can listen to us on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is online and on the TuneIn Radio app. And then, of course, make sure to like Oshkosh Media on Facebook, follow us on Twitter for all of your programming and news updates. Also, check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs like City Manager's Report. And as always, if you've got some input for us and you want to tell us what you'd like to see next on City Manager's Report, give us an email at questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us or send it to us on Twitter or Facebook, and you just might hear it on the next episode. So thank you so much again for joining us on City Manager's Report, and we'll see you in 2018.